How y'all doing tonight? Whoa. We are heading back from South Carolina, just driving. Nice little road trip. And sorry it's a little shaky or vibrating because of the drive. Want to see my view? Let's turn this around a moment. Check it out. Check it out. Hey Jake, how are ya? Cool.
Sup, Jake?
Spin her around here a moment. Looks like somebody else jumped on. A couple people. Hey Jim, how are you?
What up?
Good to see you.
What up, Jimmy boy?
We're just heading back from South Carolina, and whoa. Anyhow,
People can't drive.
Anyways, people.
No, not this person.
Ha ha ha, so much highway, LOL. Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, guys, most of you, actually hardly any of you, hey Belinda, thanks, know my story. Stop it! He is a camera hog. Doesn't like other people talking. He does the talking.
I never said a word.
Anyway.
The rest of my life.
Yes, the rest of your life. Anyhow, part of my story is... Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thanks, Belinda.
Whatever.
I'm over 50, and last year I found out in May that my dad wasn't my biological father. And I found this out by my half-sister reaching out to me after all this time, excited to finally find me, get a hold of me, etc. Yeah, exactly, Jim.
Praise Jesus.
And at first, I just ignored her. She sent me a message on Facebook. I ignored it. 2 days later, she sends me a message on my cell phone introducing herself, saying that, her dad dated my mom. So I go and I ask, well, what's your dad's name? I asked my mom, who did you date before dad? Blah, blah, blah. Her response basically was, no, nobody special. It was such a long time ago, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was going through, we're kind of always ongoing with the journey of healing. And, new levels. It's kind of like that onion layer. An onion sometimes, layer after layer, gets peeled. So I had been seeking God and fasting for over 10 years, probably more like 13 years. And I've had this inner sense that I didn't know something about myself. And God would reveal little things to me, memories would come back to me, visions, and I'd ask my mom about them, I'd ask my Aunt Maggie about them, and they pretty much confirmed every little thing, like a description of a house that I'd seen, stuff like that. But then I had this memory of a thought that if I was a bad girl, I would be sent away like my sister Lori was. And so when I asked my mom and I asked my aunt that, saying, what could have possibly happened to me? Was there like a friend that I had that suddenly disappeared or what? How would I have come up with that thought that if I was a bad girl, I'd be sent away like my sister Lori? And they're like, I have no idea. It doesn't, I really don't know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I, on and off would pray, fast, ask the Lord, et cetera. Well, I get this text message, and she introduces herself as Lori Lackinger Cole, and again telling me her dad dated my mother. So we've played phone tag. We've talked on the phone since then. Of course, at first my reaction was like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I have my birth certificate. It has my dad's name on it, et cetera, et cetera. And so then she's like, well, if you really, if you don't want to talk to your mom about it, then ask your Uncle Joe. Which I did. Talked to Uncle Joe. He totally confirmed it. I'm like, wow, this all makes sense to me now. All of a sudden I had this peace in the midst of what would have been, should have been and was a storm about my life. But all of a sudden this, that inner knowing of something missing about myself or some kind of secret about myself that was just now revealed also brought me a sense of relief. So, anyways, we were, what? I don't know. We're going to be on here for a little bit. So, talking to her, finding out that apparently I have five other siblings from my biological father, and that they've been trying to find me for years and years. And she was actually very upset when she realized I was clueless at the time, that, you know, I didn't know anything about her or them. My mom never shared that information with me, and she was also very apologetic in, you know, freaking me out, things like that. So, well, you know what? I really don't freak out very easily. I might get hurt very easily, but I don't really freak out easily. So, fast forward, we've been trying to actually physically meet, probably since November-ish, to be honest. You know, not initially, because I was resistant and I needed time to kind of process and heal. I've talked to my sister Lori, and I've talked to my sister Teresa quite a few times. And 2 or 3 weeks ago now, my biological father actually called me. And so I talked to him for the first time ever, which was kind of weird, but kind of good in a way. So we finally got it narrowed down. Exactly, right? They are coming down. They live up in the Jacksonville, or not Jacksonville, but on the Pensacola area in Gulfport, Florida. So it's like a 7-hour drive. They're coming down to the Clearwater area in Florida for the weekend to finally meet one another. So if you all can just keep that whole situation in prayer for me, I truly would appreciate it. I'm really not sure what to expect. Don't know how I'm going to respond face to face. Obviously, when I started talking to them, you know, it was emotional and everything, but my biggest prayer and desire is through the entire situation, all I want to do is honor my parents and bring God glory in how I respond. That's really what I want to do. I want to honor not just my mom and dad who raised me, but, you know, the Bible says I'm to honor my father and mother, and even though I don't know my biological father, I need to honor him as well. So, if you could just keep it all in prayer for me, that, you know, my heart is guarded yet tender, not calloused, and that I can just bring God glory in this entire situation. They know my story about how
exit left.
I had this sense of something was missing, and they know my story about the memory of my sister Lori being sent away. And here's the thing.
Exit left.
Towards Daytona Beach. Lori actually was sent away, not out of anything she did bad, but out of what's the word I'm looking for? Scandal, I guess you could say. Back in the 60s, my mom, you know, was a young girl, obviously not married, got pregnant, very, very active in the Catholic Church. My grandfather worked for the Catholic Church. She was completely ridiculed, shamed, physically beaten, verbally abused, shunned, the whole 9 yards. And it actually was a very real life, tangible representation of what Jesus endured for me, for my eternal salvation in life. I was able to, by His grace and through prayer, realize that my mom kind of is a real life example, living example of Jesus. She endured all of that to give me my physical life. And she actually was going to abort me because that's what her parents wanted her to do because of the whole shame of it and everything. And on her way my grandmother was taking her on the way to the doctor's, quote unquote, something happened, and the doctor wasn't available, so my mom took it, thank God, as a sign from God that she's to keep me. So, anyways, if you could just keep it all in prayer for me. Again, I just want to glorify God. I want to give him all the glory. I want to honor, my parents, and just, move into this chapter of my life. So I really would appreciate it. Thanks for listening, you guys. I love you.